So Frank Ntilikina has had a weird season, where David Fizdale has pulled him out of the lineup at random times and given him a few DNPs in a row, the most infamous one being the recent one on Christmas. But Ntilikina has also found time where he's playing upwards of 25 to 30 minutes a night, and when you combine that with all the ball handlers on this team, the fact that Moutier is doing okay, and all this stuff, what does this mean for Ntilikina? Well, I think the first thing you got to talk about is how you feel about Frank, because I think when you see people, especially Knicks fans, talk about this guy, in terms of how many minutes he's playing, the common reactions are either he shouldn't be playing because he sucks, or it's we have to give him as many minutes as possible because we drafted him like 8th overall last year, and you don't give up on 20-year-olds when they have played about 100 games in the NBA. I definitely am closer to the latter of those two, but I recognize the former as well. Ntilikina is a bad offensive player. His three-pointer, which was supposed to be the thing that could have been his one saving grace on offense early on, it's not there at all. The dude is shooting under 30% this season. He can't make shots from almost anywhere. Outside of that one game against, I think it was Charlotte, where he was hitting a bunch of pull-up jumpers. Doesn't seem athletic enough and all that to beat defenders consistently. And his assist and turnover percentages are way too close. They're basically the same. And then, of course, we know how good he is on defense. Look, for as frustrating as it may be to watch Frank just suck sometimes on offense, I think you got to play him. I mean, is there a chance he could be the point guard / whatever position the Knicks feel like playing him at version of Stanley Johnson? Yeah, where you just keep playing him hoping that the offense is going to come and it just never does. And yeah, I think that is unfortunately possible with Frank. But what was the thing about him when they drafted him? It said he's got a decently high ceiling, but it's going to take a minute. So, in a way, they did kind of sign up for this. It's either that or you trade him if you think he doesn't have it. But what Fizdale is doing, where he's just being super inconsistent with his minutes, what is that really accomplishing? The only thing that's going to do is mess with Ntilikina's confidence, his feel for the game, his feel for his teammates. So, if it was me, I would just be putting him out there. Now, sure, am I going to play him 28 to 30-something minutes a night if he's not playing well? No. I mean, you can play him like 17 minutes. I think that's fine, but just putting up DNP after DNP and then coming back in for a week, I mean, I don't think that's the way to go about it if you're Fizdale. So simply playing him more and playing him consistently, that would be huge. The next conversation to have with Neal Akina, though, is what position is he? Should he be an off-ball player who can focus on threes, or should he have the ball in his hands? I think up to this point, while he doesn't look very comfortable in either avenue, I do think he looks a little better with the ball in his hands. And while I wouldn't put too much stock into lineup numbers and on-off numbers for this team, given that they're so bad, but I do think there are little teeny things we can look at that could tell us something. Number one, Neal Akina with Dotson in the 330-something minutes those two have played together are actually a +1 on the season. Could that be because Dotson is an off-ball dude who's not going to take the ball out of Neal Akina's hands, whereas in the 400 minutes where Neal Akina is playing with Hardaway, the team is -11? I mean, I wouldn't jump to that conclusion, but there could be something there. I mean, in a similar boat, Neal Akina and Alonzo Trier in the 220 minutes they've played together, the team is a -19. But then, when Neal Akina is out there with, like, Noah Vonleh, in nearly 300 minutes, the team is, like, -3.5. So, again, there could be something there. But at the same time, just watching Frank play, the dude clearly has a ways to go in being a lead ball handler. So, I wouldn't go too nuts over those things, but I do think they say something at the same time. And I guess to go from that, we can lead to, there's a lot of ball handlers on this team, right? Between Hardaway and Trier and Trey Burke and Moutier, and Neal Akina's got to get it sometimes as well. And some of those guys have shown way more offensive pop than Neal Akina has as well, so it's funny. The Knicks they're in a situation that typically comes up with good teams where It's like, do you give it to the guy who's better now or the guy who could be better in a few years? I don't know. But you can't give Frank 0 minutes a game. You just can't do it. The next thing, I do want to talk about his defense a little bit more because it's really damn good. And he could be one of the best defenders in the league pretty shortly here, if he is not actually one of those guys already. I mean, there was that one stat about his pick and roll defense already being elite or whatever. Look, the potential of something like Mitchell Robinson, depending on where he ends up, Kevin Knox with his size, Neal Akina, and then Porzingis, who's been a pretty decent defensive player and can probably keep getting better. There's a lot of potential there. And if you were going to give that up because Frank was a little underwhelming on offense his first couple of years, or not even his first couple of years, his first season and then the first half of his second season, well, it's definitely a risk. You better be damn confident that he's like Tony Allen levels of bad on offense. And even then, Tony Allen still found a place, so yeah, basically, don't give up on Frank. Give him consistent minutes. If it's not going well, just pull him. And along the way, you can experiment with different things of how often he can get the ball, how often he shouldn't. Yeah, that's my take on Frank Ntilikina, and that's it.